Right, what have we got here? Just a quick one today, but it is from Nitecore. I'm a big fan of Nitecore, and I'll tell you why. I constantly get these recommended, Nitecore the brand that is, and I just recently finished a 3-day in-depth review that I did. I went in various places testing out a Nitecore system, and I was highly impressed with that, and the review for that should be up sometime this month. But because of that, I've got high expectations. Now, rather than the huge fancy flashlights that I normally look at, this is a keychain flashlight. So a keychain flashlight, the whole idea is it should be small enough, and it should be small enough to be almost like the immobilizer fob for your car, for example. Something small that you can fit in your pocket, so when you need light, you've got it. So I'm quite looking forward to this. It's got quite a few decent features, good drop rating, but it's USB rechargeable. Now, generally what happens in that instance, you lose a bit of waterproofness, but I'll go through that. So looking forward to this, and this is a silver one, so let's see what you get in the box. Let's have a look. So it's the Nitecore, now I'm going to call it the Nitecore TINI. I'll tell you why. You can't call it the Nitecore TINI because that doesn't mean anything, does it? So we'll call it Nitecore TINI, as in they're trying to make reference to the size of it, I would presume anyway. So what's in here, right? So is that empty? No. Get all the goodies out. There could be $1,000 note in here for all I know. Right, that's empty. Get rid of that. What's this? Right, Nitecore warranty card, so you can sign your life away there if that's your cup of tea. Put that to one side. And here's the manual. Now I'm going to use my X-Men powers to memorize that. So right, that's memorized. I don't need to go over that now. Put that to one side. So here's the unit. Got there eventually. Right, bin that. Now here's your key fob. You've got a split link there, and actually, do you know what? I was just about to say, I hate this design. They're rubbish. They're always flimsy. But do you know what? I'm completely wrong. So I've been proved wrong there. That's not flimsy. So well done, Nitecore. I hate that design generally because you get them on cheap rubbish from eBay, and that opens dead easily and they keep coming off your keys. But you know what? That's really solid. So can't complain at that. So excellent. Nice to see that. A decent split link there and a connector. So here's the main unit. To be honest, it's pretty light. Nitecore TINI. I'm quite liking that. And there's your charging port. Now just to check that works. Now I notice you don't get a cable with this, but it's a micro USB, and I've got hundreds of these infesting the house at the moment because of all the flashlight reviews that I do. So let's just check this out. Let's see if it does actually charge up. So I'm going to plug this into one of my backup anchors. So plug that in, and then you should, if you remove this little cover, and then that should reveal, there you go, you see. So if you pop this in, it should, if I get it the right way up, there you go. Right, so that should be charging. If I re-plug this in properly, not working. Right, I'll try plugging it into something else. So bear with me a few seconds. I have a live connection here. There you go. Right, so that was my fault. So that is charging. So you can see it's charging by the blue LEDs there flashing. So I probably haven't charged that. So my fault entirely, not Nitecore's. So that's what it looks like. It's flashing for charging, and then when it's finished, obviously it stops flashing. So that's handy. I like having that ability. And for a keychain light, you're going to have it with you anyway, so you're going to be near a computer or a cable. But it's strange that they don't give you a cable. I don't know why that might be. It's obviously a reduction of costs, but come on, Nitecore, give us a cable. Right, so pop that back in, and I'll go through some of the specs. So this one is using the LED, which you can't see because it's behind the lens there, but it's the Cree, so decent make, Cree XP-G2S3 LED, which has a pretty decent output, and it uses a TIR lens. So we'll go over that in a moment, though, and I just want to go through some of the other specs. It's an IP54. Now you sometimes hear me say IP6, IP7, IPX8, for example. So IP54, so ignore the IP section. The 5 just donates dust protection. So the higher that number, the more protection it gives, and the lower, the less protection. And then the next figure, which is 4, is for water splashes. I think the next one up would be something like water jets from all directions, and it goes up and up until you get total immersion in water for 2 meters, like an IPX8. So IPX54, so light dust protection and water splashes, no more. And the reason for that is because you have sections here where water can get in, which is one downside of a USB rechargeable. Although some other manufacturers, for example Claris, this is USB rechargeable, but you see how they've intelligently designed it. There is no entry point there. You have to dismantle it and unscrew that, and then you can charge it. So do you know, isn't that a much better idea? I get annoyed. For example, here's the Astrolux K1. They've done the same thing. They've just got a flimsy flap where water can get in. Is there not a way you could hide that under a screwed section? It's not that difficult, really. I mean, come on. But anyway, I don't want to whinge too much. So that's nice to see. They've got that, but you're going to lose a bit of protection. Like I say, it's not going to be fully waterproof, which is annoying, but it's to be expected. So it actually includes a lithium-ion battery. Now, lithium-ion is just the chemical makeup of the battery, and it's one of the better ones. It's not a nickel metal hydride. It's one up. It's slightly better, has better retention and slightly better capacity. So that's nice. But unfortunately it's only a 280 milliamp hour battery, which is very small. That's unfortunate. But I'm going to compare this to other manufacturers' keychain lights and discuss that in a moment. It has a 1.5 meter drop rating, which is fine. So if you drop that from 1.5 meters on something hard like concrete, not a problem, which is nice to see, because some of them, I was looking at one yesterday, it was only a 1 meter and one was a half meter. Come on, I mean, if it's in your pocket, it's going to be higher than that. So nice to see, though. Anyway, 1.5 meter drop rating, fair enough. And it has a very low standby mode. Some flashlights are more used to this than others, but on a lot of flashlights, there's a slow draw on power in standby, but this will do 365 days on a full charge, not a problem. Right, so put that to one side, and what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to discuss lenses. So for example, put that to one side. This is a TIR lens. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to compare that. So this is an orange peel lens, and then that is a smooth. So it's all in the reflector. So it's that time of day. So we'll put this to one side, and I'm going to explain what these things are. So on this model, you have a TIR lens. Now TIR just stands for total internal reflection. Okay, so it's how the light being emitted from the light emitting diode ends up being forced out. So your classic design would be something like this. This is the Thorfire. It's the PF01S. S just stands for the second edition. Now this uses a traditional smooth reflector. So there's your flashlight and there's your reflector on top. So what happens is the LED wants to fire light in this direction, but the manufacturer wants to dictate how that comes out and how it presents itself in the world. So if you've got a smooth reflector, your light's bounced around and it's focused. It's focused in a manner that the manufacturer wants. So you also have a bit of spill that comes from the LED as well. So when you fire that, it hits the wall and it looks like this. There's your spot, and then this is your spill next to it. So if I turn this on, I shall show you. There you go. Okay, so you can see here, from here to here is spill. This is your peripheral light coming from the LED. Now this section here is spot. Now, when you have spot like this and a smooth reflector, you can throw light further, which is excellent. Unfortunately, up close it isn't so excellent because look, it's obscuring detail. You can obviously mitigate that by pulling way back, but that's another issue, because then the higher the intensity, the more you have to pull back, and it can be annoying. So traditionally, a smooth reflector, which I'm going to give you a close-up of there, a smooth reflector is going to give you what's called throw. That is the ability to send light out to a subject. Okay, so bear that in mind. Your second option is, if you want a little bit more of a smooth transition, for example, you could, there's your reflector there. Now if you introduce bumps and aberrations, what happens is it smooths out this focus of light. Okay, so what happens is when it hits the wall, it no longer looks like an eyeball or a fried egg. It looks like this. so it's smoothed out. There's a transition, okay? So, for example, you see this is an orange peel reflector. Now can you see the bumps? You can see them all in the reflector there. So if I turn this on, turn it down to a sensible level, there. Okay, so can you see what's happening here? There's a slight obscuring of detail, but there's a transition. So you have all this spill, okay, and then you do have a spot, but it's less pronounced. It's not obscuring detail. So it's trying to get the best of both worlds there. So what it's doing is you get less throw but more transition, and you lose less detail up close. Now the far end of this example is, so that's for throw, that's for a mix of throw and up close. Now TIR is the far end of the scale. So instead of having a reflector like this, what you have is, I shall turn the page, you have your LED there on your PCB, and light obviously wants to go in this direction. What you do is you just put a lens right over the top of it. Now this isn't empty, this isn't empty space like a bowl. This is solid plastic, so all light is totally internally refracted. And then you can, what they do is they tend to add bumps and all sorts of things. So what you end up with is all the light comes out of here with minimal loss, virtually no loss, and it comes out in a uniform floody pattern. So what am I talking about when I say a floody? Well, one example would be the Claris Mini one. So let's have a look at this. Now this has a TIR lens, so I'm going to give you a close-up with that. So you can see it's very shallow. And it's going to give you a uniform light. So if I turn that on, can you see what's happening there? The flood is just massive. There is a spot, but it's very poorly defined. In other words, all this light is being uniformly spread out to give you a lovely transition, huge spill there. So even pretty close, you're not obscuring detail. So that's the far end of the scale. So my advice would be, if you want to look at things far away, you'd use a smooth reflector. If you want to look at things transitionally, sometimes far and sometimes close, your best bet would be an orange peel reflector, in my personal opinion. And up close, you want a TIR lens. That's just my personal preferences. So if I put those to one side, you now know what this lens is on the front. So let's have a look at it and see how it works. Okay, so you've got 4 modes. You've got low, medium, high and turbo. So how do you make that work? Well, you need to turn it on. Now notice you can't turn it on just by pressing the button. That's brilliant. I highly recommend that feature in anything that's going to be a keyring, because it's in your pocket. You don't want to get knocked to go on. The exact same feature is on the on-the-road M3, which I love. Look, you can't just turn it on, you have to hold it down. A very intelligent design choice. So Nitecore, well done. So you have to hold it down for 2 seconds. Right, now it's on. And then you've got your mode button. So we'll go through the different modes, okay? So mode number 1, 1 lumen. So that's not a lot of light, 1 lumen, but that's going to give you 60 hours of working ability. So 60 hours is pretty good. Obviously you can't get a lot done with 1 lumen, and the whole idea of these low modes is, you wouldn't necessarily go walking the dog with a mode like that. You'd fall over something. So what's the point of it? Well, it's to protect night vision, really. You can read a map or examine something, or not obscure other people's vision, and you don't lose your night vision. Night vision is lost when you get enough light in the back of the eye, and you lose your ability to sort of navigate and get things done in the dark. And it normally takes me about 10-15 minutes to get that back. So a low lumen mode is going to make sure that doesn't happen. So we'll turn that back on there. So there's your 1 lumen. So moving up from them, you've got medium. So that's pretty good. So 38 lumens, and that's pretty good. Now see, that's a nice spread because of the lens as well. So 38 lumens and you get 4 hours. That's absolutely fantastic. Move up again and you've got high, 145 lumens. Now 40 minutes. I think that's pretty reasonable. And I would argue that 145 to about 300 is a great mode to get more stuff done. You can get more stuff done with that amount of lumens. Okay, so, and then you go back down again, so back to low. So you can only get low, medium, high. So how do you get to turbo, you're asking? Well, you need to hold this. So if you hold this, bang, at any point it goes straight up to turbo. So that gives you 380 lumens. Now bear in mind, you only get 15 minutes of that. However, There is thermal regulation on this, so if I hold this long enough, this is going to get hot enough where the components are going to decide, no, it's time for step down. And step down is when it reduces the lumen output in order to save the components. So yes, you get 15 minutes runtime, but that's if there was no step down. And because it's thermal step down in this, there, it's gone off. So understand that thermal regulated step down means I can't tell you how long that's going to be, because if you live in the Antarctic, it's going to be totally different to if you live in the Sahara Desert. So I can't answer that, but there is step down, but that's not a problem. It's really not getting hot because it's not a massive output. It's not like some of these, like the M3, this can pump out about 900 or something, so it's not massive. But 15 minutes is fine. And then the other thing I want to mention is there's two modes for this. You've got a demo mode and a daily mode. What's the point of that, you're thinking? Right, demo mode means that if you turn this on, so we'll turn it on, there it is there, and I'm going to leave it, and let's see what happens there. So it's on now. Now they're calling that demo mode. I don't know why. I would probably be more inclined to call it something like safety mode. The purpose of demo mode is, let's say this is in your pocket, and I've already discussed you have to hold down for 2 seconds to get it to go on, which is a very intelligent design. However, sometimes even though you've got that design, you're going to have mistakes happen where it goes on inadvertently and runs out in your pocket. It's gone off because it's in demo mode. So if you notice, after 30 seconds, it goes off, just in case it's gone on inadvertently in your pocket. I like that. Now, if you want to get rid of that, just press both buttons. So if you watch the light, see the two flashes? Right, we're now in daily mode. So if I turn it on now, it isn't going to turn off. And if you want to go back to the previous mode, hold both, one flash. So one flash is demo mode, hold them again, two flash takes you to the daily mode. In daily mode, the reason you need to switch between those modes is because obviously if you're trying to do something hands-free and you turn this on, you're going to need it in daily mode, aren't you? Because you don't want to be doing something and then the lights go out and you fall off a step ladder or something. So not ideal. So let's turn that off. So I've gone through most of the basics and I like the output. It's a great thing, nice and light. Battery, I would prefer something a bit bigger than 280 milliamp hours, but never mind. You've got a decent output there. But I want to compare that to what some of the competitors are doing. Okay. So let's look at one of the competitors. So this is also a TIR lens, as you can see, very similar. However, this has a smaller battery. This is probably half of the capacity of this. And it's one of the things I marked this down for. I love it, and it's an intelligent design, and I love the way this is behind there, and it's got a light for when you're charging it up. Brilliant. But the battery, I'll show you, is minute. So I think you can put it off here. That's it. The battery is something like a 10180. There it is. I mean, that's absolutely minuscule, isn't it? 10180. So I don't think that's enough to get you home. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you a little story. I once went geocaching and I got lost in a wood. Now, all I had with me was this on my keychain. I didn't have my main flashlight with me. It took me about half an hour to get back to the car and find where I was. And I was in the dark through trees. I was only able to do that because I had this. Otherwise, I don't know what the hell I would have done. I would have had to call mountain rescue or something. So bear in mind, it took me half an hour to get back. This doesn't even last half an hour. It's something like 20 minutes at best possible case scenario, and that's with it being fully charged. Yeah, you could put it on a lower level, but still not enough. So this saved me. I think I would rather still get this, the Nitecore on the left, because this capacity is less, but that's fine. I still like this. Okay, so we'll put that to one side. Let's compare it to the TI3. Capacity wise, let's have a look. So this uses a AAA battery, and the capacity on this any loop, if I remember rightly, is 750 milliamp hours. Compare that to this one, which is only giving you 280. So again, better. I mean, to be fair, yes, it's better, but I prefer the features on this because, look, one of the things I don't like about this is it's a rotary action to get it on. And then, obviously, to disengage it, you have to undo this, which sometimes it falls to bits. So that's the one problem with this. But I still like this light, and I've carried it many times. Saved me many times. So this gives you about something like 120-ish lumens, whereas this is going to give you more. So you could argue this is better. Okay, fair enough. This is waterproof. That isn't. So we'll put that to one side. let's compare it to something which looks very similar, but if you notice, look, so you get about, I think off the top of my head, it's something like a 500 milliamp hour battery, so much better capacity, but this outputs, it's something like 250 lumens. This is giving you 360, so much better. Sorry, 380, my mistake there. This is much heavier, so yeah, you're getting more capacity, and yes, you've got UV and red light and all daft things like that, and quite a nice throwy lens, but do you want to take that extra weight? I think that's very heavy. This is less than half the weight, so pop that there. We could compare it to the Astrolux. So it's the Astrolux A01 off the top of my head. Yes, A01. This gives you around 100, but it's got an orange pure reflector, so it's not TIR, so you're getting a little bit of throw on this. You're not going to get that with this. Having said that, you're only getting about 100 lumens with this. You're getting more with that. So again, you've got to weigh up what it is you want and what you need. You could also compare it to the JetU by JetBeam, which I loved, highly recommended. You know, that's got a beautiful output on it. I really, really like that. But again, it's very similar to these, you know, very, very similar. And you've got to ask yourself, all of these have got more capacity than this, but that has more output. But then, of course, because that's got more output, the batteries last longer. So it's a weighing up what it is you do and don't want. And here's the slightly larger Claris, which has the lens in it actually is convex, which means that it gives you a great spread. So it's a type of lens that we haven't discussed on the drawings there, but I don't want to get too carried away. So that's one more option, but I think that's pretty heavy for what you're getting. And then you could go up to this is the heaviest, but this is giving you 900 plus lumens. I'm a big fan of this, but should that be attached to your keys? I mean, look, yeah, definitely that, but some people wouldn't want that attached to their keys. It's too heavy. I can understand that, but I highly rate it. And there's the small Thorfire, which again, it's fine, does its job. One thing I don't like about it is this protruded tactical look. I don't think you need that on something that's going to be in a key ring. So what I'll do is later on I'll show you all the different beam shots just so you know what's what. And one other slight option you could have is, which is a very similar size but the output's not as good and there's no lens, you see, which is a design I don't like, is the Nitecore tube. But not bad output, is it? And it's rechargeable. Cheap, rechargeable. You know, if you lost that, it's not the most expensive thing in the world. The only thing is, obviously, you get light leak coming back to your eyes, which is annoying. I tend to use it like that and cover it with my thumb, so it's not coming back on my face. So there's some options that you might want to consider, and I've explained what's good about them and why they would be better or worse. But I'm going to give this a mark, and then I'll go out and show you some beam shots. So let's have a think. Now, bearing in mind you could get something a little bit bigger than this, such as the Nitecore tip. There's various versions of that. You can get a Nitecore one and all sorts of stuff. But I think this does a good job, and I think it deserves the name tiny because it's very, very small. I mean, look, it's even smaller than the tube, and the tube is small, even though that's probably thinner. I still like carrying something a bit heavier. I'm willing to put up with the weight to get a massive output like this, like a 900 plus. It's certainly better than the Astrolux, even though I really, really like the Astrolux, and the capacity is certainly better than the small Claris Mini one. I still always carry this, the TrueNight Ti3, because it's waterproof and it has more capacity. So you've got if water isn't an issue, you've got no problems getting that. So I'm going to give this, I think they could do a little bit better. There's got to be a better way of having USB charging without a daft flap. Although this is one of the better flaps. I mean, some of them are absolutely horrendous. I mean, look at this one. You know, the wind blows the wrong way and whoops, it flies up. Not ideal. I'm not a big fan of that. So marks out of 10. Let's have a think about this. For what it does, I think it's slightly overpriced. I like the fact it's got the daily mode and demo mode, and you've got a hold to get it on. I love the TIR lens. I think it fits the form factor because you're going to be doing stuff up close. It's not supposed to be your main flashlight. I think it's worth, let's give that a 7.5. I just wish this was better, this flap. But at least, thank you, Nitecore, at least you're actually honest. A lot of them will say, oh, especially these Chinese manufacturers, they'll say things like IPX8, IPX8, and you think, how the hell can that be IPX8 when it you know, a tiny wind lifts that? That's not, you know. I think this same problem was discussed on the Wear and Tear channel, which is one of my subscribers, and he's excellent. I think he's the guy from Austria, and he's discussed this. I mean, he has some stuff by Armitech, which is very high quality, rock solid, rugged stuff. So when you compare that to something like this with a little flap that flies open every 5 minutes, you know, that's a bit annoying. So 7.5, I'm happy to stand by that. I like it. Yeah, it's not it's absolutely fine. I think I would change that though. There's got to be some better way, or a clip that goes in and out. It's got to be something better. But I love the lens, very light, admirable by Nitecore. I'm just interested to see what the tip looks like. I'm going to try and get hold of a tip in a couple of weeks and see what that's like. And I know that's got better IPX ratings. So 7.5, well done Nitecore. I can recommend it even though it's not the highest score. And why do you not get it? Why do you not get a free cable? Come on. At this price, you should be getting a free cable. So enough waffling on, 7.5, and let's get on with the beam shots.